All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about stablecoins today, and more importantly, the wild global race to write the rules for this brand new kind of digital money. And, this whole race really forces us to ask a question that's actually centuries old.
Yeah, it really all comes down to this. For most of history, the answer was simple, right? Governments, central banks. That was it. But now, this new tech is shaking things up, and it's making regulators all over the world stop and think, what even is money anymore?
So, just so we're all on the same page, what exactly are we talking about? Well, a stable coin is a kind of crypto that, unlike Bitcoin, doesn't have those crazy price swings. It's designed to stay stable because it's pegged to something real, usually the US dollar. For all intents and purposes, you can just think of it as a digital dollar. And because this stuff has the potential to be a huge part of our financial future, governments everywhere, from Washington to Brussels to Tokyo, are absolutely scrambling to get a handle on it. This isn't some slow academic debate. No, this is a full-on competitive sprint. Let's kick things off in the United States, where the best way to describe the situation is, well, a patchwork. You've got this major divide between what's happening at the federal level and what the individual states are doing. So, up in Washington, D.C., it's mostly talk. Congress is debating bills, but let's be real, there's no single federal rulebook in place. And because of that, the real action is happening at the state level. The states are not waiting around, they're jumping in and making the rules as we speak, and this has turned the states into these incredible real-world laboratories for financial rules. We're seeing two totally different philosophies start to emerge. You've got the pioneers on one hand and the gatekeepers on the other. So check this out. In one corner, you have New York playing the part of the tough gatekeeper. They're all about strict rules, licensing private companies, and protecting consumers. But then, in the other corner, you have Wyoming, the pioneer. They're so focused on innovation, they decided to just go ahead and create their own state-backed stablecoin. New York's system is pretty straightforward. It's built on three key pillars for anyone who wants to issue a stablecoin. First, you've got to back every single digital token one-to-one with super safe, easy-to-sell assets. Second, you have to prove it every single month with a report signed off by an accountant. And third, if I want my dollars back, you have to give them to me, quickly and easily. It's a model built completely on safety and trust. Okay, but Wyoming, they looked at that model and went in a completely different direction. Instead of just making rules for private companies, they asked a fascinating question. Hey, what if we, the government, just issued the token ourselves? And that question leads us to this number, 102%. This is the max reserve level for Wyoming's brand new stable token. The idea is that the state will back every token with only U.S. Treasury bills, super safe stuff, and they'll hold somewhere between 100 and 102% of the total value. So here's how this crazy idea works. The token, they're calling it WST, is only backed by that ultra-safe government debt. Now here's the kicker. Any interest they earn from those reserves that pushes the backing above that 102% mark, it doesn't go to shareholders. First, it pays the bills for the state commission running the thing, and then every penny left over goes directly to fund Wyoming's public schools. It's a totally new model, and we should see it launch around mid-2025. Okay, so let's zoom out now. Because the U.S. isn't an island. This is a global conversation, and you better believe other major countries are busy writing their own playbooks. And look, this isn't something that's going to happen. It's happening right now. It really kicked off with Switzerland back in 2019, and since then, it's been a steady wave of new rules coming out of Japan, Singapore, the UAE, with Hong Kong on deck. Everybody is getting in on this. But probably the biggest, most comprehensive set of rules we've seen anywhere in the world has come from the European Union. They have this massive piece of legislation called Markets in Crypto Assets, or MiCA as everyone calls it. And to really get what the EU is doing, you have to understand this one phrase from their rulebook. The whole reason for their super strict approach is a fear of risks to their monetary sovereignty. Basically, they are terrified that some big dollar-backed stablecoin from a private company could become more important and more powerful than their own currency, the euro.
So naturally, their rules are all designed to protect the euro. They have very strict rules about what you can hold in your reserves. They flat out ban companies from charging you a fee just to get your own money back. And this is huge. They forbid stablecoins from paying you interest, so they can't compete with traditional bank accounts. And on top of all that, they put caps on any stablecoins that aren't backed by a European currency.
Phew! Okay, so we've seen the gatekeeper approach in New York, the pioneer in Wyoming, and what you might call the fortress in the EU. Let's put them all next to each other and really see how different these paths are, even though they're all trying to solve the exact same problem.
When you lay it all out like this, the differences are just stark. You look at the overall approach: New York licenses private companies, Wyoming just makes its own token, and the EU has one giant rulebook for everybody. For reserves, New York says safe and liquid, but Wyoming gets specific, only T-bills. And the biggest contrast might be on fees and interest. New York says they're fine, but the EU says absolutely not to both. Meanwhile, Wyoming just takes the interest and puts it back into public services.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that nobody has the answer yet. There is no consensus. What we're witnessing is this incredible global experiment. It's a patchwork of competing ideas, all playing out in real time, with every region betting that their way is the right way to build the future of money. And that really leaves us with the billion-dollar question. As this technology gets more and more woven into our daily lives, are all these different ideas eventually going to merge into one single global standard? Or are we heading for a future where your digital money works under a totally different set of rules depending on what part of the world you're in? The race is definitely on, and honestly, the finish line is nowhere in sight.